Good morning and welcome back to Margin. This morning we're going to talk about how to prevent feeling overwhelmed. So let's jump right into it. So the thought of feeling overwhelmed, then trying to prevent the feeling of feeling overwhelmed, while is not only a mouthful, it's also easier said than done. So Psychology Today had an article called Refueling Your Engine: Strategies to Reduce Stress and Avoid Burnout, where they outlined core and basic needs that you need to follow. Now, the rules that they cover are as follows. Rule number 1, you have to sleep. Rule number 2, you have to eat. And rule number 3, you have to drink. Now, this is obviously very simplistic and rudimentary, and it's obvious that you need to sleep, that you need to drink water, you need to eat food, and so on and so forth. But oftentimes, some of the most simple things we can forget to do, especially if we are constantly going through the motions, we're constantly running from one thing to the next, and not actually necessarily taking care of the basics. Now, if you're overwhelmed, you, may be an overachiever or someone who consistently takes on more and more, and maybe more, not considering the long-term ramifications. Now, the article states that the problem is that high-octane people tend to cheat. They tend to cheat a lot in the basic maintenance game. So oftentimes what happens is you sleep, but you probably don't sleep enough. You eat, but usually not very well. You drink, but not likely enough of the right stuff. If you're like most high achievers, you're probably used to doing everything you're asked to do and doing it well. But each time you add a new commitment or responsibility to your plate, you're adding stress into your life. Now, depending on the type of person you are, think back to what actually relaxes you the most. What is a healthy version of fun to you? This may be exercising. It may be getting a massage, learning to take time to be still and breathe. Or if you're like me, it may be going out and going for a drive. So maybe it's being physically challenged by summiting a mountain. Maybe it's stepping up the difficulty in your next snowboarding trip, or maybe it's learning to downhill mountain bike. Whatever it is, whatever the challenge is, it's important that you are figuring out what allows you to come alive. Now, the article states that the key is discovering your own program, one that works for you and your lifestyle, and making the commitment to incorporate it into your life. Now, in another resource, an article on Talkspace called How to Manage When We Feel Overwhelmed states that emotional overwhelm entails more than being stressed. By definition, being emotionally overwhelmed means to be completely submerged by your thoughts and emotions about all of life's current problems to the point where you lack. The article goes on to say that when you begin to feel overwhelmed, cortisol surges through your body and leaves you overloaded with intense anxiety. Now, at the same time, our serotonin stores the chemical that helps our bodies fight off depression and anxiety, then starts to deplete. Now, this combination causes the intense feeling of total despair associated with being overwhelmed. Now, this is then recommended to be counterbalanced by the use of reversing your overall, overwhelmed thought process, which can be done by walking back the thought process as to how your mind wandered to where it did. Maybe it's taking a deep breath to clear your mind and practicing being in the moment amongst a few. Now, an example of this may be a job loss. This can lead you to think about how you will provide for your family, how you will find a job that will appreciate your skill set, how this could be a major setback financially, and so on and so forth. But the catalyst was that you were laid off or fired. And so tracking back that thought process to the action or whatever occurred then allows you to look for solutions to that news. Now, you may choose to immediately move into action by reaching out to your network, polishing that resume, battening down the hatches to halt any unnecessary spending and the like. Now, there's a number of different thought processes you could go through. They could be logical from that standpoint, but that's just an example. Now, there are so many aspects of life that are completely out of our control, but focusing on the issue at hand and to our best ability, figuring out how to best navigate that issue based on what we can control will ensure that you don't allow your mind to take you on what's called a wild goose chase. Now, my call to action today is to look at the circumstance that is currently overwhelming you and track it back to the core and work from that point. Instead of letting your emotions run and trying to then react, respond, and chase after every fleeting thought that you may have because of what occurred. If this information is helpful to you, please do like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you're reminded to come back on a daily basis and improve in managing your personal finances. Thank you for your time. Enjoy your day. We'll see you back here tomorrow.